While all these alternative versions were being produced around them, the people at ITV were happy to place their trust in the authentic Sherlock.
There's a sort of comfort in going back to the time when it's always 1895. It's a more ordered world, perhaps. It's a world which is a little easier to understand than our post-nuclear world. It's a form of escapism.
Very pretty young woman crossing the street.
And I was quite glad to escape into it.
Incidentally, I have glanced over your latest account of my work.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, I cannot congratulate you upon it.
This Holmes, played by Jeremy Brett, stayed faithful to the guidance of my writings.
Deduction, a cold, unemotional subject. You have attempted to tinge it with romanticism, which has much the same effect as if you'd worked a love story or an elopement into the fifth proposition of Euclid. Who can imagine?
What do we have here? A Sherlock Holmes with the fire and ice of the original?
Jeremy was very, very determined that he would stick as far as possible to what Doyle wrote.
Don't go, Doctor. I may need you.
I mean, he used to carry the book around with him. And if ever he found bits of dialogue which were different from the dialogue that Doyle had written, he would immediately spot it and say, that's not Doyle. And he would drag it back to that, or always.
Your case is most interesting.
Jeremy had an edginess about him.
Something else has occurred to you.
And he discovered this dark side to himself, which is very much part of his Holmes.
I have come to you. This letter arrived through the post this morning, which you will perhaps read for yourself.
Envelope, please. Oh. London postmark, October 7. Man's thumb mark on corner. Probably postman. Best quality paper. 6p a packet. Particular man in his stationery. Watson.
Be at the third pillar from the left, outside the Lyceum Theatre tonight at 7 o'clock. If you're distrustful, bring 2 friends. You are a wronged woman and shall have justice.
Intense, cold, impatient, rude.
Well, really, this is
Yet someone so quick to demonstrate his excitement at the prospect of the chase.
Why, then you and I shall go together. What? Dr. Watson is the very man. Your correspondent says 2.
At another encounter in a London theatre, this time the Shepherd's Bush Theatre, Jeremy Brett revealed how difficult it could be to keep the company of the great detective.
You're more like Watson, though, really, personally, than you are Sherlock Holmes yourself.
Well, I think...
I mean, you're a kindlier soul yourself.
I find Holmes incredibly difficult to wear.
When you say wear, you take on...
Yes, the mantle of him. Yeah. He is a dark, recluse, internal creature. And you can only show him through cracks in the marble, glimmers. Yeah. You can't... He's totally internal. And I find that's very hard to sustain. I mean, it's much more fun to be Watson say, well done, Holmes. Gosh, that was wonderful, excellent. Yeah. Because he's got that wonderful kind of enthusiasm. Yeah. Holmes is quite cool.
I see.
And dismissive and abrupt. And that's hard to sustain on a daily basis.
The best Holmeses, in terms of actors, have been those that have managed to capture the introspective, dark, brooding, depressive quality set against the man whose mind is racing, who doesn't sleep, doesn't eat. I love Holmes pacing up and down, bored and irascible, before someone walks up the stairs and brings him a case.
And what time would you like your dinner, Mr. Holmes?
8:30, the day after tomorrow.
The fact that he's pretty much a manic depressive is probably an important aspect of his abiding power as a fictional character.
What's it? Look. What a face.
Throughout the decade in which he embodied Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett struggled himself with manic depression.
He was playing out some of his own demons in the character of Holmes. Somebody once said to him in the early days, "Do you think there's something of the manic depressive about Sherlock Holmes?" And he was furious because he didn't think that was part of the text. But I think he was even then beginning to be aware that it was part of his life and his problem. In the later stages, when the clashes between medication for his heart problems and medication for his manic depression produced a tension and a sort of near breakdown that was bound to affect the performance. He was, I mean, very brave to carry on at times, I think.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Is that look a reproach?
No. No, I'm often up at this hour.
When I was admitted to the Maudsley Hospital in 1986, I was so confused I couldn't relate to anything or anyone around me. All I could do was lie face down with my fists clenched in my face. I believe I've been coping with these severe mood swings for many more years than I like to think.
Holmes?
Being a member of a profession where being a little mad helps, my moods were tolerated far more readily than if I worked in a bank or a school.
What do you know about dreams?
Why do you ask?
Why? I'm walking through infernal territory and you ask why?
I only meant... I don't know what I meant.
It is my success which gave me the courage to admit publicly that I had this illness as an encouragement to others, that it had not stopped me from being employed, leading a fulfilled and successful life.
My dream is horrible. I'm fighting with Moriarty at the Falls. And suddenly I'm overwhelmed with a sense of loss, fear. Yes, fear.
Jeremy Brett died within a year of the final broadcast of a heart attack.